Jay here for Stretford, Paddock, and this is a bit of press conference reaction. Make sure you are getting involved in the chat and the comments because we are live and want to hear from you guys. Make sure as well you are hitting that like button. If you've not done already, give us a subscribe. We're going to get into Erik Ten Hag's reaction and comments following Manchester United's loss away at the London Stadium, losing 2-1 to West Ham. VAR was the hot topic after the game. Yes, United should have taken our chances in the first half, and yes, it isn't good enough from the team and the manager and everyone concerned in terms of this run we're on, but also VAR got it wrong in my opinion. That decision to award West Ham a penalty from Michael Oliver, who's running VAR, over sort of riding or overruling, not overruling, but ignoring what the referee had done and suggesting that it goes to the monitor to look, for me, was the wrong call. Get involved in the chat and the comments. Let us know what you think. We're going to be hearing what the manager had to say. Plus, I'll have a couple of other comments as well. There's one I just want to get into. Before we get into the manager's comments, I think Laurie Whitwell in The Athletic tweeted about this and did an article, has mentioned it in his article as well. He's talking about Darren Fletcher. Darren Fletcher, who was he was in the stands watching the game with analysts in the stands, said 1 week it's a high threshold talking about VAR, next week it's not. Effing joke. I've edited that. It wasn't effing, he swore. So yeah, they spoke VAR, didn't they, about this high threshold for overturning decisions, and that wasn't a high threshold. The foul, if you can call it the foul, by De Ligt on Ings was debatable whether it's a foul. I don't think, for me, it's not a foul, but there's no way that's a high threshold. There's no way you look at that as a clear and obvious error. It's massively debatable, 50-50, if that, whether that's a foul or not. And to send the referee to the monitor for that, I think is absolutely ludicrous. And listen, two things can be true, at the same time. Manchester United should have had that game won in the first half. The finishing wasn't good enough. We didn't take our chances. Diogo Dalot and Alejandro Garnacho in particular should have scored, really. And VAR was wrong to award that penalty. And I think that killed any chance of United winning the game. We might have won the game. Might not have, but we might have won that game had that VAR decision not been awarded. We could have gone on and got a winner, or it might have stayed a draw. We'll never know. But that was the wrong decision. So there's two things there that I think can be true, and both of them, in my opinion, are. Get involved in the chat and the comments and let us know what you think. Let's get into this then. We've got some clips from the manager, from his press conference. He spoke about VAR inconsistency. So here's what he said about the inconsistency we've seen from VAR, especially this season, how it's affecting Manchester United.
Before the season, they explained the process of the VAR. And only when it's clear and obvious, then they should interfere. So what they didn't do against Spurs, where they should have done it, to interfere with the red card of Bruno. There was a wrong decision, and now they make, again, a wrong decision interfering. And both has a big impact on the scores of the games.
So there you can see, I mean, he's mentioned there the Spurs game. VAR looks at the Spurs one and decide, oh yeah, that is a red card. When it wasn't, the Bruno Fernandes red card. It wasn't, and that got rescinded, which didn't do United any good, did it? Because it got rescinded, obviously, after the game. Then today, VAR gets involved in something it shouldn't have, or they shouldn't have. So I sympathise with Erik Ten Hag. You can say Erik Ten Hag, on the whole, hasn't been doing well enough as Manchester United manager, and I agree with that. United should not be in 14th. But today, he's been had over, and also against Spurs, he's been had over. Get involved in the chat and the comments. I want to hear what you guys think. Let me know what you think. Phobo Sacco Man says, shocking decision, but we should have been home and dry by half-time. That encapsulates it perfectly for me. Both things are true. Shocking decision, but we should have been home and dry by half-time. Witterbird says, Jay, not that Rashford was impactful, but the moment he came off, the game went to chaos. Yeah, I kind of agree with that as well, to be honest with you. I don't think Marcus Rashford played particularly well today. I don't say it's because of Marcus Rashford's being subbed that the game went to chaos, but it was around that time, didn't it, that everything was sort of just altered for United. I don't know if it was that. I think it might have been more that the three subs that West Ham did at half-time began to get into the game, began to sort of have that impact. So I understand where you're coming from in that one. Somerville in particular did well. Obviously, he got the goal. Ings, when he came on, I know he's a later substitution. He's been involved in that penalty. There wasn't a penalty. The substitutions for West Ham, they just worked. Jean-Claude Todibo did well. For Manchester United, we couldn't, after that first half, we couldn't get going. I know we got a goal, But that was more of a sort of, not one-off, but it wasn't like United found their rhythm in the second half. You always hear about rhythm, don't you, in football matches. In the first half, we had it, and we should have been home and dry. We should have won this game. We should have been 2, maybe even 3 goals up by half-time. That didn't happen. In the second half, we didn't find that rhythm. Yes, we had the goal, but other than that, United looks a little bit shoddy, to be honest with you. Dan McDonald says, Jamie, I've still not calmed down from this game. I appreciate that, and I agree. Samwise77 says, feel for Ten Hag today. The man got FM'd. Yep. Akash K says, anyone defending Delo for that miss needs an optician. The finishing, or lack thereof, in the first half was disgusting. VAR is an easy blame for me. I agree some of the finishing was terrible. Diogo Delo, who I've pretty much been a vocal supporter of, I thought that finish was woeful. He did the hard bit, the little flick over the keeper. They did really well, but the finish was wide and high. He just absolutely snatched that, and he didn't need to. He just needed a nice little finish into an almost empty net. Happy days. So it's really annoyed me now. It has so much about it, because that game for me, we could have and should have been home and dry in that first half, and it's a good result. You get a good result at West Ham, because I think had we gone 2 or 3-0 up, I think the game's done. I don't see West Ham coming back into it. Instead, we don't take our chances. We come out the second half, they make changes, they suddenly go on the front foot. We're all over the gaff, and it's just the same old, same old. Colin Couple-Ditch says, next time the ref is at Old Trafford, turn off the hot water in his dressing room. I like it. A bit of pettiness. Ten Hag has been sort of summarising the game as well. Get involved in the chat and the comments, and please hit that like button as well. Here's what he had to say about the match and the players, and just what he thought about it all.
No, I'm not criticising any personal. I criticised the process. And of course there are people who are running the process. But it had a big impact on the score. And the other impact was that we didn't score. And we created so many chances. We played so good football, especially the first half is exact how I want to see my team playing, so dominant, in and out of position, very good build-up, very good structures, playing between the lines, go around, back inside, go behind, create chances. I think I collected 6, 7, 100% chances we should have scored. And that is the other thing. And then, of course, when you don't score, we have to keep calm and keep going and do the same thing, because that will create your chances.
So there you go from Erik tonight. He's speaking about, look, he's not criticising anyone personally. He mentions there about the chances we created, the amount of big chances we created. He says, I think he counted 6 or 7. And that we should have taken the chances, and that it's different if you do. Let me know what you think about that. Michael Jennings says, what's the master plan? Wait until we're in the bottom 3 and then hire David Moyes back to save us from relegation. Ten Hag needs to go now. USA Red Devil says it's not just this week, it's every week, in capital letters. So obviously not impressed there. Samwise 877, we need some powerful midfielders ASAP. Petey says, how is this on Ten Hag? He physically can't put the ball in the net. We created more than enough chances to win this game and then got stuffed by VAR. I agree about the chances thing, and I've said this. I said this at the beginning of the season. I said it a couple of games in. I'm concerned about the lack of a goal scorer we've got in this team. Rasmus Højlund is a good striker. I like Rasmus Højlund. I think he's a decent kid. Is he prolific? Not really. I mean, he scored quite a few goals last season. Is it 16, 17? The season before at Atlanta was similar numbers in all competitions. But he's not someone that I'd expect to get 25, 30 goals in a season. He might do eventually, still only quite young. But he's not going to get you loads of goals. Marcus Rashford has had a season under Erik ten Hag where he got you 30 goals. He's also had a season where he didn't get you many goals at all. Alejandro Garnacho, I know he's still young, he's still progressing, he's still, developing, but he's never had a season where he's hit 20 goals. So where are the goals coming from? Who are you looking at and going, there's your goal scorer? I don't think we've got one. We're relying on players to sort of weigh in. Now, that can work if you've got 6 or 7 or 8 players who can get you a decent amount of goals. Let's say Bruno got you 13, 14 goals. Garnacho got you similar numbers. Marcus did. Højlund did. Xerxes did. Diallo did. You'd be okay. Say then you've got maybe Casemiro or Ericsson weighs in with 7 or 8, whatever. Then you look at it, you go, okay, across the board there, we're scoring enough goals where we can compete at the higher end of the table. But we're not doing that. I think our top goal scorer in the league this season has 2. And I think, is it Chris Wood has scored, I think, is it one less goal than Manchester United? Just Chris Wood in the Premier League this season. That's unsustainable, that. You need to take these chances. So it might not be on the manager in terms of not converting the chances. I get that argument, but the manager knew when he brought in Joshua Zirkzee, and I think that is an Erik Ten Hag signing, he wasn't a goal scorer. He's not an out-and-out goal scorer. So where are the goals coming from? What's the thinking here? Are we just hoping that Garnacho and Rashford and Højlund are going to step up? It does seem a little bit overly optimistic to think that these players can get the sort of goals or the sort of numbers that we need. Let me know what you think. Get involved in the chat in the comments. Harry Potts says, Ahmad gets you off your seat. Yeah, he does. I like Amad Diallo. Did okay when he came on, but he's a player that I like and I'd like to see more of, and I hope he gets more opportunities. Alex Hansen says the first half is not Ten Hag's fault. He actually did a good job, but after the players messed that up, the West Ham manager changes it up and Ten Hag doesn't respond. They outplayed us second half until 2-1. I agree with that. Lopetegui made changes and Manchester United just didn't seem to cope with those changes very well, to be honest with you. So it's a bit of a weird one today, innit? Because overall I'm massively disappointed. Obviously, how much of it is on the manager? Some of it has to be on the manager. Some of it you have to go, okay. When West Ham made changes, when the likes of Somerville, Tadibo and Souček, and obviously later on we saw Danny Ings and Cresswell come on, United could have responded a little bit better than we did. But I don't think it's on the manager in terms of what happened with VAR and obviously not taking chances. Look, the players need to take responsibility. I said earlier, two things can be true. VAR got it wrong, and United should have taken our chances. Those two things can be true. I think there's a third one you can add into that. The players need to take responsibility as well as the manager. It's not just, you can't just go, oh, it's Erik Ten Hag's fault. Ask yourself, how many of those players today in Manchester United shirt did themselves justice, attacking-wise especially? Look, defensively, you can argue that it wasn't too bad. I know in the end we conceded 2 goals, which isn't great, but attacking-wise, I feel we were wanting, and some of the players have to take responsibility for that. Now, one final clip we've got from Erik Ten Hag. He's talking about, can we turn it around? Is there still hope? We'll get into this. We'll watch this clip here and we'll get into it, because some of what he says I get, and some of it I think what you're on about. Go on.
In this moment, definitely the luck is not on my side. It's not about me. It's about the team, and it's not on our side. And last season was not different, but in the end we turned this around. And we are so determined it will be the same case today. But yeah, we have to turn this around, and it will turn around if we keep playing like we are playing now. We see in this block Brentford, Fenerbahce today. Yeah, we play really good football. So yeah, he said something there that everyone hates. It's luck. If you mention luck in football, people are on you. People are like, well, don't start talking about luck. That's not a thing. Now, luck can be a thing. We've all watched enough football to know that you can have decisions that go your way. A bit of a, fluky goal that goes in or whatever, or a last-ditch tackle that just about gets a touch or whatever. There's always those opportunities or those sort of, almost crossroad moments where that little bit of luck goes one way and that goes the other. It can make a massive difference. But you can't keep talking about luck when you're 14th in the table. People aren't going to stomach that, nor should they. You can't go, well, we're just unlucky, that's why we're so closer to the relegation zone than we are to top 4, because people think you're absolutely insane. And there's another thing he said, I don't think it's in that clip, but he spoke about last season, we turned it around. Now, the issue that people have had with that, I've seen social media going crazy over that, is because people look at it and go, we turned it around last season. We finished 8th. Now, I think, to be fair to Hag, when he's talking about turning it around last season, I assume he's talking about winning the FA Cup, turning the season around on the whole, finishing on a high. Because if you think we turned it around last season by finishing 8th, then obviously you're completely deluded. Now, the issue we've got here is Ronaldo said it, and others have said it, like, United needed to improve last season. And now we can still improve on last season and finish. We could finish 7th. That wouldn't be good enough. The issue we've got now is we're 14th. Now, we can improve on where we are and get to, 10th. Is that going to be good enough? Obviously not. Manchester United need to start moving up the table and need to start doing it sooner rather than later. Now, I feel like Ineos, for whatever reason, whether it's just the lack of other managers, whether it's because they don't want to be left with egg on the face after backing him in the summer, Ineos are sort of sticking with him for the time being. But that only goes so far. And if they're looking at it and Manchester United are in the bottom half of the table or miles away from the top 4, they're going to make a decision, aren't they? Now,
you can argue, okay, look, decisions, the Spurs game, bit of bad luck maybe in the Brighton game is a good one where maybe luck came into it with the Alejandro Garnacho disallowed goal, but it don't get you very far and you can't keep blaming decisions. Last season, it was injuries, wasn't it? Injuries cost us, and it did. And I think Ineos, to a certain degree, got that, but that only carries so much weight. He mentioned injuries midweek, and whilst we haven't got a left back or an established left back due to injury, we've not been that bad with injuries compared to other seasons or compared to some other clubs as well. So I do feel like Erik ten Hag is a little bit running out of excuses. Nicola Arcritidis says, how is Welbeck, Wood and Visa week after week putting them in the net without doubt? You just know they will score when they get the ball. I can't name one player on the team that does the same. Says it all, doesn't it? Danny Welbeck, come back, all is forgiven even. Nomad Joe says, think the Delot miss is a symptom of what's wrong. The team is completely devoid of confidence. It's a good point now. People don't like to talk about confidence, but it is an actual thing, and this team does seem to be struggling with confidence in front of goal. You look at the Garnacho chance, not the one where he hit the bar, which I thought was sort of an almost instinctive shot, and early on in the game, it was only like 2 minutes in, the one where he's through, and he just puts it completely wide. And I think that at times seems like a player who's maybe struggling with confidence. Højlund didn't really have many chances today, did he? He had one where he had quick feet, but then it was smothered. As a striker, you want to be getting more than that. Bruno Fernandes with that header. I mean, that header, Jesus wept. I love Bruno, you know I do. Anyone who watches this channel knows I do. Got to hit the target here. You've got to hit that target, man. It reminded me of Marcus Rashford at Everton a few years ago, I think it was, where he did a similar thing. I mean, just heading over when you're completely unmarked, you've gone through, you've timed your run to perfection. Head it down, hit the target. Just frustrating, man. Really is frustrating. Ross Murphy says, I'll say it before and I'll say it again. Changing the manager doesn't mean all of a sudden we start challenging. We need to start breaking this 3-year cycle curse on United managers. Yep, fair enough. Also, Elmo Chacho says, honestly expecting the Ten Hag sack notification any minute. I don't think he's going to get sacked. I don't think he's going to get sacked off the back of today, but it is adding up in it, these bad results. Mayor Amateur says, theory, the manager's style is so high work rate and low control that the players exhaust themselves by the end of the first half. Basically basketball. Our second half have been poor due to lack of energy. That you might have a case there. The trouble is as well, though, we've had some poor first halves, haven't we? Look at the games against Spurs and Liverpool, weren't particularly good in the first half, but I do understand where you're coming from. I'm going to leave it there. Thanks to everyone who got involved in the chat and the comments. I'm going to be back in the morning with the news outside Old Trafford, so make sure, if you're not doing already, you check out some of the other videos. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Give us a like as well. I've been Jay. This has been some post-match press conference reaction. Thanks for watching.